So this is the backyard. July 2019. It is hot outside. My wife wanted tropical, and so this is my interpretation of a tropical garden. See some grasses back there, just kind of lining out the edges. So you can see, I'll start with actually this side because it's the food. This is a hummingbird delight. Hummingbirds love this. This is, the names are slipping me right now. This is a Swiss chard, edible. It's like a big lettuce. You can tell they're growing in boxes. These boxes are outdoor hydroponic boxes. And behind it is a dwarf palmetto. Dwarf palmetto, I'll show you, has no irrigation. This is just a transmission hose. There's actually no drippers here, just transmission. So both of these are xeric. What does have irrigation is the earth boxes. So these are xeric plants. That's a Duranta or a sky flower. It's a first year, and that's the reason it's kind of a little bit behind. I'm really considering adding a dripper right there for that one, just so that it'll get a little bit more boost. I do have drippers on these. The reason I decided to plant hibiscus right here is because they look tropical. They would cover the tomato cages. My wife wanted the tomato cages to be completely invisible. And you know, since I've got drippers coming out here, I just added a couple more drippers to each one of them. So I think each one of them is getting 2 1-gallon-per-hour drippers on each side of it, something like that. And so these are Cherokee purple tomatoes. You know, it's July. These are not going to turn. They're just going to stay green. So I will put this in. I'm going to cut it in half, put it in compost, and because it's an indeterminate variety, it will come back in the fall. We're real lucky that we get a second growing season. So I'll get another growing season out of each of these 3 right here. You can see they're even still putting on blooms, but our nighttime temperatures are 73 right now, and so the fruit's just not going to set. I mean, they'll still put a lot of energy towards these, and I would rather rebuild these with compost, each one of them. And you can see I've got 1 empty on each side. I do crop rotation. 1 year I'll have 2, and then 1 year I'll have 3, and I'll change the soil out and stuff. Over here, this is kind of cool. You can see that this is a Texas star hibiscus, and it's about to bloom. It doesn't get much more tropical than hibiscus, right? These are about to bloom. Back here is a plant I don't hear mentioned very often. I really love this plant. You can kind of see it's an electric pink, or like a faded red. I don't know what you'd call it, but it is electric. Especially when you compare it with the one red Turk's cap in the background, which you can see right here. Oops, right there. It's one red Turk's cap. So when you compare it against the other reds, it's definitely a different red. Butterflies and hummingbirds love this stuff. And what's interesting is the hummingbirds are so territorial over this particular red plant that I have seen them attack other birds that come to peck holes in my tomatoes. So for example, I'll see a mockingbird. Oh, there's a little red wasp over here. That's nice. I'll see a mockingbird come land over here, and so will the hummingbird. The hummingbird will chase the mockingbird away. So my tomatoes rarely have holes in them, and I attribute it to the hummingbirds being very protectionist of the big red sage. This is Greg's mistflower here. It is a butterfly magnet. This one's actually shutting down. This one's a mature Greg's mistflower, and it's shutting down, getting ready for the fall. In fall, this entire thing will have these delicate little things on it all over and attract butterflies from everywhere, really. I just need a little ground cover. And there's always water coming out of the earth box, so the water comes out here. And I'm doing a little experiment to find out if enough water comes out here that would soak in here, that would water my sweet potato, which is right here. So the water would obviously soak in. Sweet potato would have to reach for it, but it's a potato. It's got a lot of energy, so obviously it found it. I have not watered this plant at all. You can tell it's thriving. So I think what I may do is plant potatoes in between each one of them that are planted to act as a ground cover. It's kind of a nice ground cover, and I have to do nothing to it. It's just the water that runs out when I water this thing. This is a sweet almond verbena, one of my favorite smells. It's right here next to the patio, so really liking that. You can see the eggplants, the purple versus the sun scald. I was on vacation and these got sun scalded. You can see one's down there, it's out of the sun. One right next to it is not out of the sun, it just got nuked. So, you know, I've never grown eggplant before, so I just thought I'd give it a try, and that's what happened. Here is mint. This is peppermint. It's growing really well, and it's all in a pot by itself. This is one pot full of just mint. Over here we've got thyme and stevia. This is stevia right here, very sweet. Hydrangea right there that's on its way out, you know, for summer obviously. Tropical sage, man, the hummingbirds love this red right here. And again, you can see the difference in red between these two. The red on the left and the red on the right, just different. This is basil right here. Basil's flowering, coming out, so I got quite a bit of basil. And this is a zinnia. There was one that was growing in an odd spot out there that I planted from seed, so I pulled it up. Silver pony's foot. Man, this is an edible, and I can never remember what this is called. I think it starts with a C, but it's an edible, and you know, I'll get one or two smoothies out of it every year. It's a really power-packed edible, so I let it grow a little bit every year. Oh, wiener dog. More wildflowers over here. Jordan gave me. Put in. Over here we've got Turk's Cap, Sabal minor, or dwarf palmetto. The Turk's Cap is a native hibiscus. So I've got a hibiscus here and a hibiscus over here. And the hibiscus screens, as you can see, it totally screens the tomato cages. Now that you know they're there, you can't really see them. The path is made of lava rock, Hawaiian lava rock. And this is what the big red sage look like when it's young. This is amaryllis, but it's going out for summer. Bicolored iris right here, over here. Little Aztec grass back here, just for effect. This stuff does not do well in the sun. I have to keep it in full shade or it's dead. And you can see how dense the Turk's Cap gets. This native hibiscus is just awesome. And one little tropical sage growing in it. I really want this whole area to be tropical sage and Turk's Cap. So that's my tropical backyard.